Well, welcome everybody. Glad to have you here today. We are going to be talking about self-management, so one of the pillars for our emotionally intelligent book that we're using. And so today it's self-management, and that is it's internal. So if we're looking back to what we talked about with those pillars in the book, it's what happens when we act and or choose not to act, because choosing to not make a choice or not making a choice is also making a choice. So it's kind of being aware of that, our ability to use that self-awareness, and then to remain flexible and direct our behaviors in a positive way. Part of what also we're talking about with self-management is to manage our emotional reactions to the situations that we're in. And one of the suggestions that our book talks about, and this is number one, is to just breathe. So take the time to take deep breaths. Really, most of us, what we do, especially when we get in situations where we're maybe not as most comfortable, we tend to take these very short, very shallow kinds of breaths. And so what we want to do is the next time we're in a more stressful situation is to take slow, deep breaths and inhale through our nose and out through our mouth. Okay, so we're going to practice that. Okay, so everybody together. Okay, now we should all feel better. I think I do. So think of for a minute, I would like you to just take a minute now and think about when you might want to use that. So if you want to take a few notes, I know you have kind of your worksheets and stuff, but think about times when you could use this not only for yourself, how we might model that to students, ways we could encourage our students to take these deep breaths and these calming kinds of cleansing breaths like we just did. So if you just want to take a few minutes and hit pause and then write down a few ideas on how you might use that as an application in your classes. So a couple of the examples that I thought of and we've shared in previous sessions was maybe before an exam. Students often talk about having some test anxiety. They're very nervous. There's a lot of pressure when they take those exams. And so just walking them through that, maybe even showing them a video like this or similar to that, and just have them go through that process of taking those deep breaths before they actually take the test. Maybe if they know there's an uncomfortable phone call that we're going to have to make, maybe that would be a time to go ahead and use that same technique for ourselves. So I would also encourage you to do this in examples. You could do this as a think, pair, share. So we've thought about it ourselves. If you're with somebody else, maybe pair up with them and ask them what kinds of ideas they had. And then we could share it in a group if you're watching this video as a group as well. All right. Now, strategy number 9 in self-management in our book talks about taking control of that self-talk. And so what we're going to do with this one, what we're talking about is learning to control that inner voice, that voice that tends to be focused on, telling us these little niggles in the back of our head that maybe aren't as positive as we would like them to be. So we can kind of take care of that, take control of that, and learn to control that inner voice we have instead of saying, I always or I never can do this. It could be this time I will. It could be those replacing those kinds of judgmental sort of statements instead of saying, oh, I'm such an idiot. Instead of make it more factual and saying, I made a mistake. When nobody's perfect. So instead of it, oh, I'm just such an idiot. No, think about it again. Like I said, I made a mistake. And then accept responsibilities for our actions and nobody else's. So this particular slide talks about the power of yet. And as examples, what we're talking about is that instead of saying, I can't do this yet. I haven't learned this yet. I haven't mastered this yet. And so it takes a little bit of that pressure off and helps us to kind of being able to accept the fact that maybe I don't know this answer yet, but we haven't learned it. And thinking about, again, how can we model that to students and how can we encourage that to our students as well? So again, I'd like you to take a second here and we'll pause in just a minute, and I want you to just take a minute and write down as many examples that you can, like how can you use this? How can you model this to our students? How can you teach them the power of yet? So go ahead and hit pause and then write those down again. And then if you have others around you, take a little bit of time to maybe share some of those examples. Again, that think, pair, share kind of an example. In some cases, I know with classes, we could do things like we talk about, okay, well, we haven't studied this yet, but we'll get to that. And that's also a very effective one when students are asking us questions that maybe we haven't gotten to that content just yet in class. And so, that's a really, really great point. That's a great question. We're going to finish this topic up because we haven't gotten to that yet, and then we'll get to that and we'll get your question answered. And if I don't get it answered for you, then we can talk a little bit deeper on that. So just a little bit more of that number 9, taking control of our self-talk. All right. Another part of the self-talk, and this is still number 9, kind of continued, is to kind of move beyond that, the victim versus creator, that growth versus that fixed mindset. And so in this one, what I want you to look at is your the language of responsibility handout. Okay. So for this one, I want you to look at your language of responsibility handout. And what we're going to talk about is the language of responsibility, that victim versus that creator language. So in the victim language, what we have is we have victims who believe that their outcomes and experiences are determined from forces that are just beyond their control. They believe it's more of a luck, it's somebody else had done this. They believe that they're merely pawns in that chess game of life. The language that you'll hear is often blaming, it's complaining, it's causing, giving excuses. Versus the creator language, which is creator language, and creators believe that their outcomes and experiences are just consequences of the choices that they've made. They believe that they're the ones who are more in control, they're the ones who create, promote, and all those things that happen to them in their life. So this is going to be more characterized by ownership and a plan. So if you would now, take the time to read the victim language on the left side of your language of responsibility worksheet, and read the ones on the left, and then turn them over into how can you create creator language out of that same statement. Okay, so hit pause, and what I'll have you do then is fill out for the remaining, there's 13 on that slide, so you've got 12 more to figure out how to turn that language from victim language into creator language. All right, and again, if you're in groups, I would like you to share. Take the time to kind of give some examples if you hadn't had a chance to come up with all of them. Like number 5, for example, it says, I can't learn anything in this workshop because it's so cold. Maybe that creator language could be something like, I'm going to bring layers because I don't know how cold it's going to be in the room, so I'll have a jacket and I'll have something a little bit warmer, just to kind of overcome that because I really want to learn at this workshop. So those types of examples. Then what I would like you to do is to flip this over, and then on the back side, you're going to be working on the I messages. So turning those complaints into requests. So work through this worksheet on the back and translate those messages, your I messages, your victim language, in those complaints into more of a creator language. And there's some examples there at the top that'll kind of give you a little bit of, and some examples to get kind of going on that. So work on that one, hit pause, and then work on that one. Okay, and hopefully you were able to take those I messages, turn those complaints into requests. And so we're going to move on to wrapping up the little bit with this number 9 again. So thinking about that growth mindset, and hopefully that turned kind of got you in the growth mindset, the creator language kind of got you in there where you're kind of realizing that I can do this. Challenges are going to help me grow. Nothing that came easy. Oftentimes we don't learn as well from that. So kind of get us out of that hopefully that get us into that growth mindset. All right. So number 10 is visualizing success. And in this, I think this is what a lot of our students think. They look at others, they look at maybe their instructors, and we're role models for our students. And they look and they say, oh, this person must have gone from point A to point B in this straight line because look how successful they are. They're an instructor here, they've completed degrees. And what we need to do is take a little bit of time to show our students that really success isn't that straight line. Oftentimes it's this convoluted kind of messy sort of way that we get from point A to point B, and that's really what that looks like. And think about what do our students really think of when they see us? Do they see that like, oh, they must have just gone from point A to point B? And to share. So part of being emotionally intelligent and helping to set us to model this for our students is to be willing to share some of our stories. There's a great technique we can use, and that's called point, story, point. So you make a point, never say never. And then you tell your story. So I oftentimes will share this with my students, and I'll say, never say never. And I'll talk about how when I started off in college, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I started off at one college and just started taking my gen eds, not really sure what I wanted to be doing in my life. And but I knew there were some things I wasn't going to do. I was never going to go on for an advanced degree. 4 years, that was it. I was going to get my bachelor's degree, and we were going to move on. I felt like I'd been in school, which is true at that point. You've been in school for your entire life, more or less, and so I was just kind of done. 4 years, I was going to be out of here. My older sister used the military to pay for her college. I was never going to join the military. That was not something I was ever going to do. I was doing this all on my own. I had a scholarship, so that was my plan. And then I took speech my very first semester when I was in college, because that way, in my mind, what I thought was I'd never have to get up in front of people and talk again. So that was my plan. And generally by now, people have the students have figured out that, well, here she is an instructor and she's front, and clearly that last one didn't work out. And I'll say, yeah, that's true. I didn't. I took speech because I didn't want to have to get up in front of people again, and yet here I am. And then I also share that I did get a master's degree, and I got that while I was in the military, because after I paid for my school all myself, then I actually joined the military to do the dietetic internship. So all the things that I said that I was never going to do, I actually ended up doing. So sharing those kinds of stories and letting students know that, success really looks a lot of different ways, and it's generally not this, wonderful straight line that kind of gets us there. All right, one last note to kind of leave you on. Hopefully you've enjoyed the activities that we've done today. There will be more when it comes to self-management, so there's just a nice little intro for our self-management. The one thing I would just like to also show you is that effective self-management can also look like modeling it, could be showing up to our classes on time, ending our classes on time, being respectful of our students' time. So if they see that we're coming to class on time and we're going to start and we're respecting their time, then they're going to respect ours. And that's also kind of another simple way that we can kind of model that self-management to our students. Okay, so obviously I'm a faculty member, and that's kind of the lens that I bring to this. But obviously these strategies can be used by anybody in different ways, whether you're advising students, whether you're answering the phone, you're in team meetings, or in a classroom. All of these strategies can be used in every part of our life. So thank you for your time on that, and good luck. One last strategy that you could use for self-management, and this is number 7, and this is smile and laugh more. So what I would encourage you is to include something that makes you smile on your desk. So something when, like if you're answering a phone and you have your puppy right in front of you as a picture, and then you look at that picture, it'll just make you happier and make you smile. And so that can be a good way to answer a phone or to start your class. Whether it be a background on your computer, that when you see that background, it just makes you feel happy and you want to smile. Put a few little jokes in front of you, so you have that kind of in your line of you have that in your line of sight. That way, it'll just kind of make you smile and laugh just a little bit more. Just to put those little things that make you smile in your way every day. So.